Welcome to Every Dollar Counts with Josh and Jay, a shot of true serum for your investment and insurance questions. I'm Josh Knoll, the owner of Gulf Coast Financial Advisors, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Jay Stubbs, Director of the Gulf Coast for First Protective. We are brought to you on the Prime Capital Investment Advisors Podcast Network. Well, Jay, this is our second podcast episode back in the studio after a long layoff. We didn't quit making content. It was a little Zoom heavy. And here we are side by side again.
We are side by side, and it's good to be here with you. It's good to be here in Deep Fried Studios, and I'm thankful to have a place to come, not at home or not in a closed office environment.
That's right. So in the previous episode, we talked about how things had changed over the last 6 months-ish with COVID, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to quote. This episode is going to be about the 5 things that Gulf Coast area business owners are thinking about right now. And I want to stress the are. Not what they should be thinking about. I don't want to sit here and preach or lecture a business owner that's going through a considerable amount of stress, probably, or many of them are. And, not a maybe, but what do you and I think are top 5 things that we think business owners are thinking about right now? What's top of mind for them? And we're going to run it down 5 through 1, and we're going to go back and forth on that, and we'll see if we have any matches, or if we need to have an arm wrestling match to determine number 1. But before we get into all that, though, let's have our friends from Sloth Racer kick us off. Jay, how you doing, man?
Josh, I'm doing great. Good to be with you in studio again, and looking forward to this conversation today that I think a lot of people, whether they own a business, are intimately involved in a business, whether small, medium, or large, family owned, not family owned, or if you're a business, your service model calls on businesses. This is going to be an episode you're going to be interested to hear our perspective, and perhaps even the perspective of some of those others that I've polled over the last several months of what's going on in their world.
Well, and Jay, the reason I wanted to do this one is, when you're a business owner, sometimes it can be a lonely experience, even those with employees. And, you take what is a challenging, can be a challenging situation in normal, quote unquote, normal times. You throw a global pandemic in there, and then down here on the Gulf Coast, you throw a hurricane.
2.
You're right. I mean, you're like,
now 3.
It's a mess. So what we wanted to do is, we're going to run over some things, they may or may not, maybe we hit the bullseye, maybe we don't, but you and I both have enough conversations with area business owners that we kind of know what we're talking about. Plus, definitely I've been in the business ownership role for most of my career. So I think we're going to have a few things that hopefully business owners will heal and realize, hey, you're not alone, and there's people out here you can talk to about, and don't feel like you're the only one experiencing this stuff, right? So with that note, we'd like to start with what's your number 5 things that Gulf Coast area business owners are thinking about?
Well, I'm going to hit the pause button, Josh, on the countdown. Let's save that juicy meat on the bone for just a minute. I want to answer your question with a question. Your question is, what are my top 5? I'm going to have to say, and I think all of you listening will agree, it depends. All right. It depends on the business owner and what is the nature of their business. What do they do? It depends on where they're located. Take, for example, the Gulf Coast, especially South Mobile County, South Baldwin County, and the Panhandle of Florida right now. If you're a business owner down there, you're trying to clean up your property. You're trying to get doors back open. You're trying to get internet connectivity back up and running. You're maybe trying to pull a roof off your store or off your home,
in your yard,
or a boat out of your yard.
Right.
So those business owners down there, they're dealing with a lot of property damage and issues. I talked with a specific business owner earlier today, and he said that they are short of labor. Their connectivity is spotty. This is a week after Hurricane Sally. Their labor shortage, their connectivity is bad. They have out-of-town contractors coming in and offering to support. They have no way to look up these contractors or check on if they're legitimate or not. So that's difference maker there is, where is the business located and what do they do? It also depends on if they're retail or not.
Right.
Depending on where they're located. If you're retail in a COVID environment, then you either found a way to do online sales or curbside sales, or you struggled.
Right.
Whether you're an everyday retail type of spot, where I think of clothing stores or just a pop-in type of store, or you're a large major purchase retail, I think car dealerships and major appliances, right, things of that nature. Those business owners have a different thought of what's going on in their mind and what's priority number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It also depends on if I'm talking to a professional service person or not. Think of that dentist, that orthodontist, the people that could not have clients coming in
Right.
during the COVID shutdown, they lost a lot of revenue opportunity in 2020. So it depends on the type of professional service, what that business is. And if I'm talking to somebody in industrial, if you're in logistics and trucking and shipping, you're probably doing pretty good right now because everybody and their grandmother's ordering stuff online. So it really just depends. Before we get into our top 5, I think we need to consider that there are so many types of businesses that are out there, whether they're professional service, retail, industrial, manufacturing, you name it. All these types of businesses and their owners and their key employees and their decision makers have different views. But I think I've got my top 5 of what everybody's kind of thinking. And as a business owner myself, I do have an LLC that is a licensed LLC in the state of Alabama. You are a business owner. Mm-hmm. We're coming to you live and in person over this podcast with thoughts of our own that are hopefully meaningful to you as you listen.
That it leads perfectly into my number 5, and just the answer is it depends. My number 5 was, how long will I feel the impact of Hurricane Sally? And just as you laid out, Jay, we are located here along the Gulf Coast. You're on the Mobile western side of Mobile Bay. I'm on the eastern side, Fairhope Eastern Shore area. We got hit. We got a lot of trees down. We had some flooding. We definitely had quite a bit of damage. It was, we lost cell coverage, we lost Wi-Fi. You and I were able to communicate a little bit on Wednesday, but it was hit or miss. But even with all that damage, a lot of it is just time. It's just really time lost cleaning it up, as juxtaposed with the folks that are along the Gulf Coast, particularly down on the beaches of Gulf Shores in Orange Beach. You're talking about down there where this is going to impact them for weeks, right?
Months.
Months, yes.
Months, yeah. You think about the tourism. Fortunately, they were able to get past the summer swell, right. Even in a COVID environment. They were able to capture some revenue dollars through the tourism down at the beach. A lot of the work from home people. Right. Their companies have said, hey, you're going to be permanently working from home. A lot of people said, hey, I'm headed to the beach permanently. Right. I've heard from a lot of real estate professionals that there's an influx of people moving from big cities in the South like Atlanta, Nashville, where it was just too busy for their life, and they decided they wanted the beach life. But with that beach life comes the risk of right. Hurricane Alley. So your number 5 was, how long are you going to feel the impacts? I guess it depends on where you live.
Right.
Depends on your clients and what issues they're dealing with. You brought up the whole technological lack of connectivity. That's my number 5.
Okay.
Is technology and internet speed and the ability for us to conduct business wirelessly without missing a beat. So the hurricane, that gave us a little hiccup, a little glitch in the system. But once we get past all of it and everything's back up and running, another business owner that I spoke to said, we really need the fastest internet possible because that is the future of conducting business, whether you're retail or you're professional. You're selling cars, you're selling clothes. It doesn't matter. You need an online presence. You need to be able to do video content. Right. You need to be able to do streaming services to your payment portals and everything else that comes with the business that you're in. And you need good, reliable, fast internet connectivity. So that's my number 5 is right. Technology, while your number 5 is how long is Hurricane Sally going to impact us?
Well, and maybe that'll accelerate 5G. Maybe the timing's good there. It's a great point, Jay. All right, so my number 4 is, this kind of relates to, you and I have relationships and clients, quite frankly, that are in commercial real estate. So I think this question really hits home for them is, when is it time? Will there ever be time to bring my employees back into these offices? So that's my number 4. We were blessed. I'm going to be honest with you, Jay. We were blessed. One, we are a boutique shop. In the office, I'm attached to a couple different offices there, but routinely in the office, it's really just Jen and I on normal day-to-day activities. So we were able to go in every single day during this whole COVID thing, but we were the exception to the rule. And I can imagine, especially over here in Mobile, which is it's a larger city, it's a little bit more congested, and then you keep working up the chain with, Birmingham and Atlanta and some of the cities you name, New Orleans. When is it going to be time for a Gulf Coast business owner to bring in their employees? What do you think about that?
I think it's going to be, a lot of people are going to be looking at their expenses and their overall profit margins, and business owners are going to be making decisions, whether you're publicly traded or privately owned. That space where large volumes of employees used to be, if the technology's good, we'll be able to probably do that same impactful work from home. Some people may love that. And some people may absolutely despise it because they like an office environment. I think you're going to have a lot of people pulling back in office environment workforce. We've already seen this with the pullback of one of the commercial real estate names out there. I read this morning where Brookfield's important. If you heard about them, they're the ones that kind of helped bail out JCPenney. But Brookfield is cutting 20% of their workforce.
Wow.
And they said that is a reflection of the future scale of their real estate portfolio,
That's a chilling statement.
which means a lot of places are going to be probably vacant or 50% or 20% capacity. That means a lot of unused space, a lot of square footage. I, too, am worried about the commercial real estate. Fortunately, we don't live in an area where there's a ton of commercial buildings that need to be filled. In the state of Alabama, Retirement Systems of Alabama, RSA, they're the major landholder of the square footage, especially in downtown Mobile. Hopefully, they've got a plan. But maybe some other companies are going to be able to find use for that space, maybe to house a whole bunch of wireless connectivity servers for this technology that we're going to need.
That's true. And, you don't want to see the entire world turned into an Amazon distribution center either, right?
No.
So to be fair, I mean, even though I use them, I didn't necessarily want all these buildings that could have housed multiple businesses to be dominated by that. It's going to be interesting because I do think there's a balance there. Some people, I'm someone that has worked from home. I've had my home office before, and then I've obviously have an office. In my opinion, there's going to be a balance here. Some people are really productive at home. Some people, maybe in the short run they are, but they struggle long term, particularly if they have young kids. I mean, that's tough, right?
Oh, I can vouch for it, and so can you.
Yeah. I mean,
so your number 4 was what's going to happen with a business owner thinking what's going to happen with the commercial real estate world, especially if you're involved in those transactions, or you close those transactions, or you're the representative for those transactions, and even then trickle down. What's it going to look like for some of the organizations and companies that service large volumes of footprint of commercial space? I think cleaning companies and the like. My number 4 is a skilled workforce. I talked with a number of business owners that are in industrial and manufacturing. A couple of mine are friends in that space, and they really want a community of skilled or partially skilled workers that they can bring in, and that means that communities are going to need to put more emphasis on that training. Fortunately, we're in an area with a tremendous amount of community colleges around our footprint. There's a lot of technical colleges and skills that are being taught. And I met with a dentist in the Panhandle of Florida last month, face-to-face with a mask on at lunch, talking about the value of his business. And he said it's very challenging to find skilled dental hygienist labor in the Panhandle of Florida. They're just few and far between. So I think that may resonate with a lot of folks is where am I going to find that skilled, high quality hourly employee that's going to help me get my product to market, get my service taken care of. And quite frankly, we want to put a little bit more emphasis on that. Maybe virtual learning can help us with that down the road.
Jay, that dovetails perfectly into my number 3 because, if you find the skilled worker, now the next question is how do you entice them to come work for you and how do you keep them? So my number 3 was business owners. I'm a business owner along the Gulf Coast. What am I doing with my employee benefits? Is it time to cut back my employee benefits? Is it time to increase my employee benefits? Is it time to look at the 401k? Am I doing a profit sharing? Should I cut that back? I've got these employees. Maybe I took a PPP out. Do I try to balance all that with my employee benefits? Basically, in a nutshell, when it comes to my employees and the benefits that I offer them, the 401k and the other things, is it time to put the foot on the gas or the foot on the brake? What do you think?
I think your number 3 is kind of hand in hand with mine. So you're spot on. Taking care of employees, having the benefit packages in place that's going to keep them, retain them, and reward them for being loyal to you and your service model. But at the same time, understanding that you've got to look at your bottom line as the business owner and make sure that you're keeping the doors open and the profits are there for you to have sustainability. And who knows what the economy is going to look like. We've got a lot of uncertainty out there in the marketplace. We've got an election in just a matter of a few weeks and a lot of uncertainty with respect to that. So dependent upon who's in the administration and who is in control of some of the political stuff, not to make this a political podcast because I never want to go there.
Well, that was going to be my number 1, but you told me that we don't talk politics.
Well, we can still talk about it. All I'm saying is a business owner's decision today may be completely different compared to who is in the White House and who is in control of the Senate and the House of Representatives come November 3rd, or 20th or whenever they come out with the final with the final tally of who won what. But yeah, I think that's very important, is taking care of employees, but the bottom line needs to be looked at and evaluated and properly cared for. My number 3, low taxes. A business owner keeps his or her doors open, especially small and medium-sized businesses, especially those that are family-owned. They're looking at the tax rate and the marginal tax rate of that business, and they're making sure that those taxes stay low. Low taxes have always historically been business-friendly. So in my opinion, whether it's a local government or a state government or even our federal government, we need to have a voice and make sure that our taxes maintain the low levels. And I understand there's things that need to be paid for. Quite frankly, we've taken on a lot of debt.
Right.
We've got a big bailout package over the last 6 months, several bailout packages. We all know what that could look like down the road for next generations to come as far as tax rates. But for the now, for the here and now, and especially for the next couple of years, taxes are a very important issue to a business owner.
I agree, Jay, and I'll make one final note before I do my number 2 is I think some of that too comes down to the mindset of both the constituents and the leadership. Is, do you have a scarcity mentality where you try to make up the things that you've had to do to get through this and keep the economy going? Do you make up through that by raising taxes on productive people, or do you keep encouraging with reasonable or whatever the heck low taxes, high taxes may mean to different people, but you keep the marginal rates down so that you grow your way out of it through productivity? And if to do that, you have to have the opposite of a scarcity mentality. I hope that doesn't come off as preachy, but if you think the only way to get yourself out of a hole is to tax productive people, maybe that's part of the overall solution, but a lot of it is just getting people to work, right? So
I think we'll be talking about that in just a few minutes when I get to some of my higher levels here.
Well, and I notice as I'm going up my list, these things are getting a little more broad and a little more broad. So my number 2 is, I think it's fair to say that this is not only on the mind of a business owner, but probably on a lot of people, is what do I do if COVID hits again, this fall or the spring? What the heck do I do? I mean, we don't have a crystal ball and we don't have a direct phone line to the man upstairs necessarily, so I don't know if we can answer that with any certainty, but I know that's got to be on the mind of business owners. What do you think?
I have several business owners, friends, and family who have adapted and dealt with all of the uncertainty that comes with quarantine and cleanliness and limited occupancy. We're right in the middle or right at the start of football season. I'm sure there's a bunch of people who just want to go to a normal football game and a normal large crowd. I don't think we're going to see that for some time. I know that reading the mayor of Mobile's, Mayor Sandy Stimpson's email from last night, our numbers here locally are down.
Right.
I think that's a direct result of people doing the things that they were asked to do, which is wear our mask and stay clean and wash hands. And if we're sick or feeling sick, don't go out. If we have an underlying condition and the susceptibility of getting COVID is there, we stay home. We make sure that we're not going around our grandchildren, and that's painful for a lot of folks.
Absolutely.
But the business owner, they got to keep the doors open. They got to have people coming in and buying stuff. So being able to adapt, those that adapted in the first 6 months of this thing, being able to have curbside service, online service, sales and service, if you will, modifying their different process that they've used in the past to fit their business model, that is going to bode well. That experience is going to help them if we have to go into another pandemic type of shutdown or situation like that. They're going to be able to say, well, we've done this before, we know what to do, and they can pull the lever fast or faster than they did last time.
Very good. Well, so what was your number 2? This is a big one.
This is a big one for me, and it kind of goes hand in hand with this, but and as far as your COVID one, what's that going to look like? My number 2 is a clear, transparent, and fair government that is business friendly.
All right.
All right. So you think about the local shutdown, you think about the state mandates, the federal suggestions and the federal mandates from the CDC and all of that. If you peel back the onion, at the end of the day, a business owner wants clear and transparent government that's business friendly.
Right.
And I'll give you a prime example that I got from our friend Bradley Flowers by text earlier today. He said, in our community, there apparently is a sign ordinance that nobody's really aware of that tends to help the big box stores, but yet the small business owner can't do the signage that they are looking to do in order to drive traffic into their business. He said that's kind of that red tape that nobody really thinks about, but it's not very business friendly, especially when it's you're talking about the small business owner. So I hear you loud and clear, Bradley, and thank you for sharing that with me. But I think at the end of the day, what we ultimately want is a local, a county, a state, and a federal government that understands without the small business, which occupies a large percentage, the majority of business in the United States of America, that if without them surviving and thriving, we're going to be in a bad spot.
Yeah, very, very well said. I appreciate that totally. All right, well, I'm gonna get to my number one, which means you get to go last on your number one. This one's a little bit broad, Jay. So there's really a combination of two things. It kind of comes back to my number three, where was it? Is it time to invest in the employees? Well, my number one is I'm a Gulf Coast area business owner. Potentially I took out EIDL funds, PPP funds, SBA loans of some kind. Maybe I've got some additional capital on the side. A two-part on this number one is it time to put more money into my business? Again, is it time to put foot on the accelerator or the brake? And if I've done these things, if I've taken these loans or I've put additional capital in, what is that going to look like as the fall and spring play out? Is there more relief coming? What is it's really kind of a cash flow question. And again, we may not have the answer, but I think cash flow is going to be a huge concern, cash flow and debt for Gulf Coast area business owners. What do you think about that?
So, the list was supposed to be the top 5 things concerning or on the minds of the business owner. You drilled down specifically to the Gulf Coast business owner. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. They're stocking some money away somewhere to make sure that they've got some emergency reserves or some COVID pandemic shutdown reserves. They're looking at their overall portfolio of what they offer. They're looking to see if they can cut some expenses with respect to maybe their commercial real estate or their real estate overall. They're looking at their employee benefit packages. And if they've got idle assets, maybe it is time to ramp it up on an idea that you heard or you read about that or you listened to on a podcast that works somewhere else in the country. I really do think that whole issue is very, very important, and it's warranted to have as your number one. Would you like to hear my number one? The
listeners are holding their breath.
If you're a business owner, you want people doing business with you, whether you're retail, industrial, service, no matter what. I think the number one item, this is something important. It might not be number one everywhere, but it's not number one on mine, is we want an area with a rising average household income, and we want a safe environment for the people that live and work in our areas. So mine's kind of two-pronged as well. We want people making more and being more productive. We want to be able to pay people more money for productivity. We want to be able to pay, as a business owner, we want to be able to offer a job that rewards productivity and profitability. You and I don't do anything until we successfully have a solution for somebody. We don't make a dollar.
That's right.
So if we bring in solutions to the table, maybe business owners are taking new ways to drive revenue into their business by having some very smart people on their employee staff saying, hey, what better things can we do? Where can we cut expenses? Where can we drive more revenue? If we do that, then potentially the average household income in our area is going to start to go up. And if we have higher average household incomes, that means more dollars to invest, more money to put into a IRA or a 401k, more dollars to set aside to fund a risk management plan, which might be a life insurance or disability or long-term care plan to protect our family and our livelihood. And we want everybody to be safe. We want to make money, and we want to have a safe place to spend our money and enjoy our money, which is the recreation that we've got down here. We want low crime. And we want good fun things to go do. Think past COVID. I mean, the South Alabama football team is about to play their second game tomorrow night versus the UAB Blazers out at Hancock Whitney Stadium. They're at 25% capacity. I attended the game last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago, I believe. It was a fantastic event, and it's so exciting to be there. But if we don't have the money to go buy the tickets or tailgate or spend at the ball game, then what kind of fun is it to have that? It's not really at all. And we want safe, fun things to do. So my number one was rising household average income, or rising average income in every household in our area, and a safe, low crime, fun environment.
I love it. All right. Yeah. Well, and I think it goes to the fact of, you just can't throw your hands up in the air when these things happen at the end of the day. All right. So let's sum this up, Jay, and then I'll give you the final word before I close the show. My number 5 was, how long will Gulf Coast area business owners feel the impact of Hurricane Sally? Obviously, that will depend on where they're at, but that was my number 5. Yours was connectivity. Basically, how do we stay connected, particularly in a world where that looks like it's going to be the new normal for many months to come?
Yeah, got to have that technology.
Right. My number 4 was, is it time to bring employees back into the office? Your number 4 was a skilled workforce. How do you entice them? My number 3 kind of played off that is, if you have that skilled workforce, how do you entice them? How do you keep them? How do you reward them? Is it time to invest in employees, or is it time to cut back? Your number 3 was low tax environment, particularly for business owners. That was a good one. Number 2 for me was what I do if COVID hits again. I'm going to have a little side note here, Jay. Whether it hits again or not, it's hitting again. I hate to say that, but it's coming.
You're probably right.
Yeah. And then your number 2 was, clear and transparent government. That's a great one. My number 1 was, really came down to cash, to business owners' liquidity and cash flow. Relates to SBA programs, relates to their capital on the sides. What do they do with that? And then your number 1 was, really an improving environment around here, rising average household income, and safety for conducting business and doing social activities. So very good. I'm gonna give you the final word for I end the show, man. This was fun. I like this. We have to do it again.
Well, yeah, we'll do more countdowns on this kind of stuff down the road. What are the top 3 things, top 5 things we need to be thinking about in one specific area? I think that's a great way to bring content to those listening. And so be looking out for that down the road. This has been a good exercise in staying on top of things. It's caused me to talk with a few folks and ask them some questions that I normally wouldn't ask them. So all of those that are dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Sally, when this podcast eventually airs, we understand what you've been going through. This is Hurricane World and at Hurricane Alley along here on the Gulf Coast. We hope that you are restored or getting there. We're here to assist. You've got a lot of resources down here and a very strong community. So those of you impacted by the hurricane, whether it's today or you still have weeks or months to deal with it, we hear you loud and clear. And if we can help you in any way, financial services wise, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Perfect. All right. Well, listeners, if you have a strong relationship with your financial advisor, we applaud you. But if you're looking for an organization that can function both as a business advisor as well as financial advisors, then you'll feel free to reach out to us. You can call 251-327-2124, or you can always reach me through my website. You can actually set an appointment there with me if you'd like on my Calendly app. I'm at gulfcoastfa.com. That's Gulf Coast FA as in financialadvisor.com. And to all you all independent and semi-independent advisors and agents out there listening and interested in what Jay Stubbs can bring to your practice, which I highly recommend, obviously, you can find him at jaystubbs.com. That's JAYSTUBBS.com. Well, Jay, another show in the can. Many thanks to our producer, Johnny Gwynn of Deep Fried Studios. It's so great to be back here in studio. I even missed his dog, even though that's not my dog. That's how bad I was missing being
here.
That
dog does not care about us one bit.
Not a lick.
He's in there laying down, snoozing, racked out.
It is a one-way relationship with Johnny's dog. Thanks to my co-host, Jay Stubbs. And as always, a huge shout out to all of you out there that have joined Jay and I on this journey. To those of you all joining us now, check out our previous episodes. You're going to be pleasantly surprised. If you like the show, do me a favor. Please subscribe on the Apple Podcast app or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And while you're there, you would be doing us a huge favor if you would rate and review the show. It helps other listeners like you find us. Lastly, you like the show music? Go check out slothracerband.com. That's slothracerband.com. And they're going to take us home now. This has been Every Dollar Counts with Josh and Jay. Advisory services offered through Prime Capital Investment Advisors, LLC, PCIA, a federally registered investment advisor. PCIA, doing business as Prime Capital Wealth Management, PCWM, and Qualified Plan Advisors, QPA. Gulf Coast Financial Advisors is independent of Prime Capital Advisors. Information presented is for educational purposes only, is not an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. All investments involve risk, and unless otherwise stated, be sure to consult a tax professional before implementing any tax or investment strategies.